You know, when a lot of people think of women's college basketball, they think of the UConn Huskies, and for very good reason. The UConn Huskies, the #1 seed in the Bridgeport region this year. I'm Tom Vandervoort, here to break down the region for us. Brooke Weisbrod, and Brooke, I got to ask you, how good is UConn this year? They have lost all those games to Notre Dame.
Well, it seems like Notre Dame might be the only team that's got UConn's number, maybe other than Baylor, but to having only lost to those teams is not too bad of a season to be had. UConn's got an interesting matchup here with, well, I think they'll get by Idaho pretty easily. So I'm moving into the second round here. I have them against Vanderbilt in the second round, and Melanie Balcom always has a well-coached team. Again, another organized, guard-heavy team, Christina Fogge. And keep your eye, too, on Michigan State, because they're a team that got to the Big Ten Finals. They beat Penn State, a team that I think has Final Four potential. I think UConn gets through Michigan State pretty easily. Let's move into the lower half of the bracket, too, because Kentucky is an extremely athletic team. Adia Matthews, a point guard, you can't even barely watch her because she's so fast. She's like a big blue blur going up and down the floor. Matthew Mitchell has got that team pretty well under control, and a lot of people have Kentucky as their team that's not a #1 seed getting into the tournament. I'm just going to play a little game here called Let's Follow the Track of Elena Delle Donne, who is one of the best players that we don't get to see enough in women's college basketball. She's just not enough TV games, which really bothers me because I think people would really benefit from seeing the talent level that Delle Donne has and her hands. I mean, she was out of the lineup for a while dealing with Lyme's disease, and they dropped out of the top 25, and she comes back in, and here we are again talking about Delaware. If for some reason Delaware is able to advance, get to a matchup with UConn, Elena Delle Donne transferred from UConn. She was there for basically just a little bit in the summer, and once school started, she got homesick. She's got a sister with special needs, so certainly understandable.
Right, there was no sort of falling out. It was just a personal issue.
Not that I know of. And if it was, they kept it really well under wraps. We don't know anything about it.
Right.
But transferred back home, wanted to be with her family. So the matchup potential between Delaware and UConn could have a great storyline to it. I know Gino Auriemma, at the end of the day, goes home and certainly wouldn't mind to have Delle Donne on his team. I mean, think about it. If she was still there, we would be talking about UConn's streak having not ended yet. I mean, she's that good of a player. So those are the some of the nicer matchups and the storylines I like to see from the Bridgeport region.
Well, you know, it's interesting. I looked down at the UPS Team Performance Index that we use at Sporting News. In Connecticut, it's just so strong across the board. Why have they had this trouble with Notre Dame? Is it just a matchup thing? Is it a confidence thing? Where do you think that comes from?
Muffet McGraw isn't intimidated by Gino Auriemma. I think she welcomes the challenge, and neither is Skylar Diggins. So those are your two leaders on that team, and for them to play and coach as if we're ready for you, we're not scared of you whatsoever, UConn, and I think it frustrates Gino. And you could see it at the end of the game. The last go-around, there was a turnover with just a few seconds left that helped seal the win for Notre Dame. That's not Gino Auriemma basketball. Gino Auriemma basketball is we're going to call a timeout, and we're going to figure out a way to win this game down the stretch. And it was just a really weird situation to watch that game and to say, wow, Notre Dame's really got this where they need to have it. And they weren't even supposed to win. I mean, going into the first and second overtimes, they were down, and they should have lost that game. Muffet McGraw will tell you the same thing. She said, we had every chance in the world to lose that game, and somehow we dug it out with a win. It's all mental when it comes to Notre Dame UConn.
Interesting. And let me ask you about one more team from the TPI. A really strong rating for Albany, and they are in this region. What can you tell me about Albany?
I can tell you that they don't have a heck of a lot of bad losses. They've got a long win streak, and you know they're one of those teams that nobody would know about until tournament time. And I don't know a whole lot about them, to be honest with you, but I'm looking forward to seeing them play. Yeah. I mean, I was on Twitter a little while ago, and there's a lot of Albany, little activity coming through. So
interesting. Because they are a 14 seed here.
Yeah, well,
they have to beat Carolina, but it'd be interesting to see.
Which, if you play Carolina I keep talking about discipline, but I think Carolina is a team that's kind of let out the wild horses again too. And they're great athletes, great rebounders, but to play a systematic team, if Albany is that systematic team, they've got a chance. I'm not saying it's possible. I'm just saying.
But you have an unstructured team with a really structured team.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, we look on the men's side, and the first Thursday, Friday, Saturday matchups.
That's how they happen a lot of times.
Yeah, 14 seeds sometimes advance through. So
there you go.
We'd love to see that in the women's game.
All right. UConn probably going to advance to the Final Four, but we'll see what happens. For Brooke Weisbrod, I'm Tom Vandervoort. Thanks for watching.